everybody, welcome to Gravityca. My name is Nix and thank you for joining me on my quest for growth in 2021. This channel is going to be used to track my progress on my goals over the course of this year as I try and maximize my free time to benefit me in whatever ways I feel most beneficial. I do work full time. I'm a grad student as well, working on my final research, so I don't have a lot of free time, and I find that having a set number of goals each year helps to kind of keep me focused and keeps me progressing towards those goals. I didn't set goals in 2020 and it went off the rails. 2019 was definitely better when I had a set of goals to focus on throughout the year. So that's what I'm going to use this channel for, is sharing my progress with all of you to help keep me on track and hopefully see some pretty cool growth over the course of this year. My plan for this channel, at least for now, is to start with monthly checkpoints every month. Obviously, they're monthly checkpoints. Focusing on what I accomplished during the past month and seeing if any of my goals need to be tweaked in order to better suit my needs as they kind of grow throughout the course of the year. As I continue, I'm going to try and add one more video throughout the course of the month, something tied to the goals directly. Maybe it's how I use my bullet journal to track those goals, how I'm finding certain ways to do some of my goals. And then the other couple of weeks, there might be some side quests, because let's face it, I'm a nerd, and sometimes I follow my own path. But we'll get more into the channel kind of as things progress and as I grow as a YouTuber. So hopefully things will change here over that time. But in the meantime, let's go over what my goals are for 2021. Obviously, since this is February 2nd when I'm recording, I'm a bit behind the 8 ball. So want to get this video up so I can introduce all my goals, and then hopefully next weekend I'll be posting my January checkpoint for 2021. So without further ado, let's dive into the goals. I have broken up my goals into 6 key categories that I want to focus on, and then each category is broken up into what I call either tracking goals or one-off goals. So a one-off goal, as it sounds, is something that you do once, check it off, and you're done. A tracking goal is either a habit that I want to build or something that I want to do multiple times over the course of the year, and therefore I'm tracking it to make sure that I stay on point with those metrics. So starting into my categories, my first category is social related. I do live alone, so I am a bit socially isolated in these COVID times, and I want to make sure that I'm doing some things to keep me interacting with people on a regular basis. So my one-off goals for this one, I only have one so far, and it's a bit far off in the future, but I do want to send out in Christmas cards this year, A, send Christmas cards, and B, send out a note kind of just going over what things have changed for me in 2021. It should be a big year for change, and I remember as a kid my parents getting Christmas cards from people that they had met over the years, and inside the cards were these letters, either handwritten or typed, that kind of showed, what their kids were doing, what they traveled, what else they'd done over the course of the year, and it was nice to get those little bits and pieces of catch up in their lives at Christmas time. So that's the plan for this year, is to send those out. Hopefully these videos will help to kind of keep me remembering the things that I did over the course of the year, so I'll have something to look back to when I go to write those letters. And then I want to make sure that I'm volunteering once a month. Pre-COVID, I was pretty avid in the STEM outreach community through my work and my university, as well as stuff that I do freelance, as well as I'm fairly active with a couple of local charities who do sports-related fundraisers. Obviously with COVID, I've lost out on those opportunities, and kind of the longer COVID has gone on, the more I've realized that that volunteer aspect is kind of necessary for my self-care and mental health. So definitely trying to do more of those events and find more of those events where I can. So the target is 1 per month. And then my other kind of tracking goal for my social category is focused on just social events and interacting with people. Again, living alone, working from home, self-isolating due to COVID, I don't have that much opportunity to actually interact with people unless I seek out those events. So this can be anything, either online or once things start to open up in person, that allows me to interact with people. So this isn't really listening to a webinar, I've got another category for that, but it would be something like attending a workshop and actually participating and interacting with the other people attending the workshop. Now this is one that I do have a couple of recurring events that I go to every month. I want to continue those, but I don't want to cheat and count those every month. So at least for right now, I'm going to count them just the once for the first time that I do it, and then if I do them recurring times, I'll use that as backup at the end of the year if I need to fill in this metric. But so my goal is 2 a month to make sure that I'm interacting with people. Now, of course, I should still be calling my parents and talking to my sister and talking with friends, but unless we're doing something that's really socially focused or something that's outside the norm, then I'm not going to count it here. The second set of goals is kind of a personal category. I'm looking to kind of tie up some loose ends. So I've got 3 one-off goals here and then 2 tracking goals. So the one-off goals kind of relate to I'm an adult and I need to be adulting. So looking to finalize a will, finalize a power of attorney, just to get those things in place just in case the worst happens. And then I want to complete a whole house inventory. I've moved around a lot, so there's just things that I'm not sure that I still need, and I'm hoping that by the act of doing an inventory and actually having to write those things down, that I'll use that time to kind of purge, as well as to identify things that need to be upgraded or replaced. I know I've got lots of clothes that are definitely reaching the end of their life. I've got some electronics that are beyond end of life, and some other pieces of furniture that I'd really like to upgrade to better suit and match what I have. So using the whole house inventory as a way to purge the things that I really don't need, and then to also identify the things that I want to upgrade over the course of either 2021 or make that a focus in 2022. And then for my tracking goals, one thing is I do want to read more nonfiction. You can see with my bookcases behind me, I am a voracious reader. I love anything in the crime drama, lots of sci-fi, mysteries, romance, kind of all over the place, but it's mostly fiction. And as a nerd, I do want to make sure that I'm still giving myself ample opportunity to grow and to learn, hence the quest for growth for 2021. So I do want to make sure that I'm focusing on reading my nonfiction books. I have a host of them that I want to read. I just don't always make that a priority. So that's what I want to do for 2021, is to make a priority to get through at least one nonfiction book every month. And then is my email. My inboxes have gotten out of control. So I do use my mail client on my laptop to kind of synchronize all of my accounts into one. The only thing that doesn't go in there is my actual work email. But all of my school stuff, my personal stuff, I have a separate email for newsletters and junk stuff, as well as the professional account that I use for my LinkedIn and eventually for my job search. All of those filter into one inbox, and it's outlandish. As of yesterday, it was at 523 emails in that inbox. I'd really like to get that down and hovering right around 100 to just be things that I'm actively looking at, actively working on. Things like, I know my master's research has a thread that's got about 30 going with it. I don't feel the need to get rid of those all at once, but I want to keep it down to a manageable level. So kind of the focus for 2021 might actually be to get it to 100 rather than keep it at 100, but we'll see what happens. And that's about it for personal goals. Obviously, all of these goals are personal. Those were just the ones that seem to fit into that type of category. Can you tell that I'm a data scientist? Hence all of the categories, subcategories, tracking metrics. So kind of plays its way into all aspects of my life. My next one, coincidentally, is my career goals. So right now I've been working for the same company for 10 years. I've been lucky enough to have them pay for my master's degree since I do work for university. But I will be graduating hopefully in May and then looking to kind of get my next career started. That being coming up in the future, I do need to start working on some career-focused goals in order to set me up for that transition. So I've got 3 kind of one-off goals and then 3 different metric-based goals here. So my first career-focused one is to rebuild my LinkedIn. Might as well just blow it up and start over. Basically has everything going for it that I tell my students not to do. So I need to rebuild that, get it professional, make sure it matches my resume, and make sure that I'm highlighting the key points that are on there, especially since I'm making not only a job change, but also a large change in industry as well. And while I have lots of carryover skills, I'm not highlighting those and showcasing those in the best way possible. And then I also need to build out the career profile that my university offers. So I need to build that out because we do have a pretty vast alumni network. And I do want to make sure that again, it matches my LinkedIn and matches my resume, but also that it's there and available for alumni to find me. Because working with a fellow Wildcat would always be a nice perk of changing jobs. And then this is technically a metric-based goal, but I'm not tracking it in my bullet journal, so I called it a one-off goal. But I do want to do at least 24 job applications, basically until I hit a new job. So if I'm looking to graduate in May, I'm not intending to do too much of a job search before that. So I figure there's about 6 to 7 months left in the year, looking to do at least 1 job application a week, hence my 24-ish number. And I'll be tracking that on a Google Sheet where I'm tracking kind of where I'm at in the application process, which maybe if people are interested, once I build that out, I can showcase that in a future video. For my tracking goals, I do want to review my social media quarterly, just to make sure that the things that I'm following are the things that I want to be following and showcasing, checking my privacy setting, going back over old posts and seeing if they make sense, do they not make sense. Definitely want to make sure that I'm cleaning those up once a quarter. And then I do want to continue attending conferences. I'm coming from the computer networking space, going into the data science space. Particularly, I'm looking into sports analytics, so I'm open to kind of anything, and then doing sports analytics for funsies on the side. But I do want to continue to attend conferences and make those connections. With COVID, a lot of them have transitioned to an online format. Some of them are better than others at allowing participants to mingle amongst ourselves and to communicate with other participants. So I want to make sure I'm attending at least one a quarter, making sure that I'm following up with presenters who I found their topics interesting, making connections on LinkedIn, and then following up with those connections to continue to build my network. Final one is to become more kind of active in my network. And so to work on posting on LinkedIn, whether it be sharing articles, sharing updates for what I've done with school, because I've got 1 degree in the works, I've got a certificate in the works, to make sure that I get that information out there, and again, to make sure that I'm active and people are seeing me interact with my network online, which kind of transitions me perfectly into my next category of education goals. This one's got 2 one-offs and 2 kind of tracking goals. So for the one-offs, graduate. I just need to graduate. So that's my big goal for 2021, is to finish my master's research, present it, pass, and then move on and graduate. With that, I'll have a master's degree in statistics with a graduate certificate in data analytics. So hopefully wrapping that up in May to graduate and be done with school for at least a short period of time. And then the other thing that I'd like to do is I'd like to be able to present my master's research outside of my university. Obviously, I'll have to present my research as part of the final project for my degree, but I'd like to be able to present it at a conference as well. Now, since my topic is sports related, if I do want to go to a sports related conference, most of those won't open their application period for the next 4 or 5 months, with most of the actual events being kind of late in the year or early in the spring of next year. So I'll need to just keep an eye on those and watch for the application deadlines to make sure that I get those in, so that I can hopefully present at one of those conferences that I've attended in the past, or maybe a new one. In addition to that, as I've probably mentioned several times, I'm a nerd and I need to be learning. That's just the way my brain operates, is I need to constantly be learning something new. So I do want to make sure that I am continuing to learn. So I've got 2 tracking goals related to that. So one, I do want to take at least 1 full course each quarter. Now, I don't mean that I need to go back to the university and take advanced statistics or computer programming courses. Like, these can be for fun classes, and they don't necessarily need to be a full semester course. By a full course, I'm basically meaning anything that I can't do in one sitting. So for instance, I've got, starting next week, I have an art class that I signed up for, so it's 2 Thursdays on Zoom for mixed media arts. It's something that I've always been curious about, something different than what I'm doing, and now that I no longer have set courses to take, it's just my research, I have the time to do that. That's one of the courses that I'm looking at, so looking to supplement that with anything else kind of over the year that strikes my fancy. That being said, I do work for a university and get tuition benefits as part of my benefits package, so if something comes up and I find a cool class that I do want to take through the university, that works too. In addition to those full long-term classes, I do also want to focus on doing some of the LinkedIn learning and other short-term courses, kind of the 1 to 3 hour range things that I can do in one sitting, especially those that can earn me badges or points to add onto my LinkedIn. So things like, I know the LinkedIn learnings can go onto my LinkedIn profile, and since I do have access to that through my university, I'd like to use that while I'm still employed there. In addition, things like the Jump software that I use for some of my courses, their parent company, SAS, has a whole bunch of courses you can take and then get badges as well through that. So I'd like to finish that set of courses. And then I've done a few ones here and there, things like Google Analytics, that sort of thing. Continuing to take those courses to grow my skill set. So looking to do at least one of those every month. 2 more subsections. So my next set is my financial goals. I'm pretty good with my money, so this is one that I actually had a challenge with this year, because the past couple of years, 2017 was pay off my student loans in my car, 2018 was save for a down payment on a house, 2019 was recoup my savings from buying a house, and then 2020 was COVID. So I had trouble kind of setting out my financial goals for this year because I didn't have anything big like that to focus on. So that actually was my first goal for the financial goals section, was to come up with a good financial goal. So with that, I did decide to go with eliminating the PMI on my mortgage. I did put a significant chunk down, but not enough to eliminate that private mortgage insurance. Looking to pay that down over the course of this year to where I can eliminate that. The one-off goals for this one is to kind of sort out stocks and my stock portfolio. My retirement fund, I've just letting it grow. And then I do have a couple of stocks that my dad has managed for me over the past several decades. And it's just time for me to kind of take those over and learn the process and do them myself. So that's one of them. I do need to do some small updates to my credit cards. I still have one that I've had since like the day I turned 18. It's great because it's my longest one. It's great for my credit history, but it has no benefits. And if I'm going to use the card, I'd like it to pay me to do so. So I just gotta call and get that updated and sorted out. And then I would like to do at least one financial planning meeting with either my retirement fund company or the company that manages my stocks, just to kind of make sure that I am on the right pace to have my retirement work out when I'm ready to retire. And then my other tracking goal for this one, which is probably one of the hardest goals in this entire set, is I want to spend 80% of what I deemed my small business budget. So above and beyond my kind of regular set expenses, all of that money gets broken into my sinking funds based on a percentage, and one sub percentage of that is to be devoted to small businesses. If you're somebody who knows me, or as I'm sure as this channel progresses, we will find I'm not very good at actually spending money. Things like paying off my car 3 years early, my student loan 6 years early. These were things that were easy for me because I'm not a spender. Most of my books were thrifted. I think the average price per book is probably right around $2, and these are almost all hardcovers. I don't have expensive hobbies. My education, my master's is paid for by my job, so I'm just not very good at actually spending money. But I do want to do things like upgrade my furniture, upgrade my clothes, be a bit more socially and economically responsible with the money that I do spend. So I'm looking for, as I look to replace certain things, I do want to try and focus on doing them with small businesses. So that's what that one is targeting. I'm being very liberal in my definition of small business. I have a feeling I'm going to have a challenge actually hitting this goal over the course of the year. Final subsection is my miscellaneous goals. The only one that I really have in here that is just a one-off is actually this, Gravityca. So I do want to post 24, so 2 per month. Obviously I did not do that in January, so I'm already 2 behind the 8 ball, but we'll catch up sometime over 2021. So I do want to try and make sure that I'm posting 2 videos every month to YouTube, and hopefully spreading that into more as the year goes on. And then kind of a hybrid tracking and not tracking goal, but all of these binders that you see behind me, those are all either old school notes or notes from various programs, projects, whatever that I've worked on. I'd like to make them not paper. So my goal for 2021 is to actually digitize all of my notes, scrap and recycle all the paper, and get them kind of condensed down into perhaps 1 binder per subject, because there are some that I do float back through, some with kind of key statistical formulas that it's, as somebody who prefers paper, it's easier for me to just flip through and find it that way, or just things that I like to review on occasion. Those are one of my goals, is to try and get those digitized and get those so the next time I move, I don't have to carry them all. So that kind of wraps up my goals for 2021. Yes, I know it's a lot. This is how I kind of always work. I like to have a wide variety of goals in a wide variety of areas, so that depending on what I'm feeling like and what I have time for, I always have something that I can focus on that's actually beneficial to me. So this video is already starting to get over the 20-ish minute mark, which is where I want to keep them. I'm going to try and wrap this up, and then hopefully I will see you guys this weekend with my January update. My bullet journal is already updated with everything that I did in January, so all I should have to do now is just record the video. So with that, if you'd like to continue with me on my quest for growth in 2021, please feel free to hit that subscribe button so you can join me in all of the chaos that is my life. If you have any videos that you'd like to see, maybe it's kind of a more in-depth on how I plan to accomplish some of these goals, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I will see you guys soon in my very first checkpoint for January of 2021.